You've been a leader in Congress when it comes to Social Security. Recently on the House floor, you've expressed your frustration about the lack of movement on the issue. And you said this, quote, Congress has not acted since 1971 to enhance and improve anything about Social Security. So can you talk to us here a little bit about your concerns?
Well, as you know, Brittany, Social Security is the nation's number one anti-poverty program for the elderly. It's also the number one anti-poverty program for children. And imagine the last time that Congress has acted to enhance the program. Richard Nixon was president of the United States. That was back in 1971. Let me add that both Eisenhower and Nixon, two stalwart Republicans, enhanced Social Security because they knew of the success of the program. But it's been more than 50 years since Congress, which is the only body that can change and enhance Social Security, has not taken direct action. And suffice it to say, I think for your viewers, they all understand that a lot of things have changed since 1971, including the economy and the cost of living.
Of course, and as you know, as I'm sure your constituents know, our viewers know, the economy is one of the top issues facing Americans as we sit here right now. Social Security is a concern, especially for older Americans. Why has there not been movement on this in 50 years? And you've been in Congress since 1999, so where's the solution?
It defies any semblance of logic. For some, they've called Social Security the third rail. But there's an element that believes that Social Security is socialism. They feel that it costs too much money. But if you examine Social Security, and as the president said in his State of the Union message, really there's a vast group of people, because as you know, Brittany, Social Security is capped. President Biden has said, let's lift the cap on people over $400,000 of income. Now that's 0.6% of the American people. But for many of them, they either pay nothing into Social Security because they avoid the payroll tax altogether, or they're done paying if they're millionaires in February, if they're billionaires January 2nd. While every other American who's part of the program pays throughout the course of the year. So to lift that cap would allow us to enhance benefits that haven't been enhanced in more than 50 years, and then also extend solvency beyond 2066, both of which are vitally important and why Congress needs to act. And what's frustrating, I think, to the American people is all they're asking of Congress to do is vote. That's why we put out Social Security 2100, which follows a number of the president's suggested changes to it, including an increase across the board for everyone, making sure that the 23 million Americans who are currently still working and receive Social Security, that their Social Security benefits aren't taxed, lifting people who have worked all their lives and paid into the system who get a below poverty level check from Social Security, creating a new floor for Social Security, repealing the onerous WEP and GPO formulas that were put in place back in the 1980s, the last time that Congress actually looked at Social Security and extended its solvency, but it did so by raising the age. And that's the misnomer that I think a lot of people don't understand. Currently, Republicans say, well, you know, people are living longer. Well, yes, that's true. They are. And we're happy to see that. Now, the pandemic may slightly change that, but nonetheless, they are living longer. But for every year you raise the age, that's a 7% cut in benefits. So let me get this straight, Brittany. How does it make sense that if you're living longer, a program hasn't been adjusted in more than 50 years, that you're going to be living on less? It makes no sense whatsoever. But I think that story hasn't been told. And that's why we put out Social Security 2100. We have over 190 plus sponsors already. We think We'd like to see it brought up this year. We'd like to see it brought up, and I know if it goes to the floor, my colleagues on the other side are going to vote for it. But there has been a philosophical disagreement over this, over some who believe that everybody ought to be able to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps and there's no need for governmental programs, etc. The great irony, of course, is they call it an entitlement. But as you know, this is not an entitlement. This is an earned benefit. And people, all they have to do is go to their pay stub and they look at it and it says fight gun. What does that stand for? Federal insurance contribution. Whose? Theirs. And they understand it. It's an earned benefit that has no impact on our debt or deficit. Another bogus claim that is made by the other side. It's a separate trust fund that's there for the American people that they have paid for.